Hello, and Happy New Year. I'm David.
And I'm Daniel.
And we're here to talk about student caring. This is our ninth podcast, and it's a little unique for a variety of reasons. One is we're doing video for the first time also. So, gosh, this is what we look like. And as you can see behind us here, we are on beautiful Waikiki Beach. We're here for Hawaii International Conference on Higher Education, where we just had a blast talking about student caring, presenting to people for the first time about the project, and getting lots of good questions and feedback that we're going to talk about today.
And thank you for joining us for our morning coffee on the beach. As we said, this is our first time that we're actually doing a video cast, and we realize a number of you have just heard us up to this point, and the video might be upsetting in that you're seeing for the first time what we really look like. So if it's too upsetting for you, go ahead, turn off the video, just listen to the sound, put your favorite pictures of Brad Pitt and Matt Damon, and the illusion will be complete.
We do not have time to Photoshop in
we don't.
Ridiculously handsome people, so this is what we look like, folks.
No, it's true. Well, we wanted to give you a little bit of background in case you're joining us for the first time on our project and on who we are. Again, my name is Daniel Roulet. I am a college professor of English at Irvine Valley College in Southern California. I've been in higher education for about 20 years, splitting time between the classroom as an English professor and various administrative duties as a dean and as an associate provost for student learning.
That's right. I'm David Pecoraro. I'm a professor of theater at Vanguard University in Southern California as well. Our campuses are pretty close to each other, so it's pretty convenient for us to get together. I am a professor of theater. I was a student of theater, absolutely loved it to death, discovered I really love teaching as well. So I've been teaching theater since 1980, and at Vanguard University I teach a whole variety of classes in theater, introduction to the arts, primarily the design and production parts of theater. And my committee work is to be in charge of the Faculty Development Committee, where I'm able to help our fellow colleagues learn more and become better at what they love to do.
And what we've been doing in terms of the Student Caring Project is we're setting up some advice online for teachers, primarily new teachers, in terms of how they can better connect with their students in the classroom. College teaching is kind of an interesting endeavor in that you're trained in your discipline, but you're not necessarily trained at all in terms of what to do when you go into the classroom. And that's really where people are spending the majority of their time. So we're trying to encourage our colleagues to be better teachers, and we're also trying to encourage them to develop mentoring relationships with their students. We're also trying to give our colleagues a sense of who the students are who are coming into the classroom these days. It's a lot different than back in dinosaur days when David and I went to college.
Yes.
And there are more of a variety of challenges, really. We should mention one thing before we get going. You'll notice birds in the background. If you've been listening to us before, birds have been a constant theme in Southern California. We found more of them in Hawaii, however. David has spent the week feeding birds, and now they're following him everywhere. They recognize the top of his head. It's kind of in a nice paradise kind of way. It's almost a Hitchcock moment, I think.
Well, let's hope it doesn't go that way.
Yeah, because we really can't edit it out. So, nonetheless,
there they are. If you can hear them.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the conference, David. If you could get us started on that.
Yeah, we did three separate events. The first one was a workshop, and the title of that was Student Caring, Reinventing the College Environment. And that was a 90-minute workshop where we did a presentation. We had excellent discussions with our colleagues.
We learned a lot during that, and we'd like to share some of what we learned with you during the podcast today. Our second event, I gave a paper. I actually read a paper, something I almost never do, called Rebuilding the Bridge, Responding to Changes in the Higher Education Landscape. And we had a good turnout and some good discussion on that as well.
And then we went on to a poster presentation, a very large conference room with all kinds of colleagues from all over the world. Everybody was sharing their research work and what they were doing. And our title for that was Reinventing the College Classroom. And if you'll check our website, you'll see that there's a lot of this information that we shared with everyone else that we're making available to anybody who's interested, really. And that's just studentcaring.com.
And this is a great conference, by the way, to give you just a sense of what happened in the poster presentation before we get going. We had people from as far away as South Africa who had traveled about 27 hours of rigorous travel to get here. We had someone from Alaska who has taught in rural Alaska for about 41 years and had some wonderful things to say about student caring and the necessity of being a good mentor and connecting with your community. So we received a number of questions and a number of comments as well. And informally this morning, we wanted to run through those with you and discuss a little bit about what we learned.
Sure. Well, we were about 4 or 5 minutes into our first workshop presentation. Mm-hmm. And this woman from the back row, she puts up her hand and she says, "I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't want to be a cloud on your excellent presentation." And I said, "No, please, go right ahead. We want an interaction." And she said, this is quite wonderful and good information, but I think I'm in the wrong room. I think I need a workshop on being meaner." And she went on to share how she wrestles with those challenging moments when a student will come up to her and say, "Well, I'm sorry I couldn't get the assignment in," and then present her with a variety of reasons. And she really feels that that's just an incredibly challenging moment. And then she put us on the spot, which was just fine. And she said, "What do you do? How do you feel about that?"
Yeah. And what she was really mentioning there was the difference between what some people might perceive as student caring, which is giving the students a lot of breaks, as opposed to academic rigor. And this is a question we actually had anticipated a bit, so we actually had a few answers on this. When we talk about student care, what we're really interested in is creating a situation where a student will make their way through college and be prepared for the job market, where they have done good work and where we have really held them responsible in the classroom. Student caring is therefore something different. And how we responded to our colleague in the workshop is we said, well, there are certain students who you can tell right off are interested in negotiating a grade or getting out of as much work as possible. That's not what we're interested in. The quieter folks are often the people who need a little bit more care, who maybe are not telling you what's going on in their lives and really are looking for an opportunity to connect with a professor.
Certainly.
And what we're trying to do in our sessions and what we're trying to do in our project is to encourage people to build in time into their classes to connect with folks like that. So we want to make the distinction. We're about student caring. We're not about student enabling. And that was an excellent question, I think, from our colleague.
Mm-hmm. We're very much about teaching people about student caring, championing student caring, and helping to promote it, helping to create a community of support surrounding the student. These very difficult emotional questions and situations that arise are very much what we're about. We're about educating people about these situations and helping to give them tools. Certainly my first day in a college environment was one where I was not prepared to deal with these issues whatsoever.
Right.
There was a lot of learning by trial and error, a lot of very difficult, challenging moments. And after teaching for quite some time, we believe we have a way and a variety of topics to address this very difficult human interaction and to turn it into something that is really good, and that people that can have confidence and really know, gosh, this student genuinely has a real tough situation, or no, I'm sorry, this situation in this case, I'm afraid I can't allow that.
But this leads to a bigger question as well. I think what David brought up, the notion of coming into the classroom and not being prepared for this. I came out of a PhD program where, amazingly enough, I was trained in terms of teaching. But the teaching training mainly had to do with how to put together a good syllabus, how to share your expertise in a field, how to test students. It didn't necessarily focus on the live students in front of you. And a number of things look good on paper, but when you get into the classroom and deal with students, it's a whole different situation. And that's really what we want to help our colleagues with. So that was a great question that we encountered during our first workshop session. Do you want to talk a little bit about the poster session at all?
Well, poster session was fascinating. We had a poster put up, and in large letters it said "Student Caring." And one recollection is a woman. She just walked up to me. She looked at the poster and she said, "Student Caring." Well, that's what it's all about, isn't it? And we had a delightful conversation following that. She went on to tell us about her teaching career up in Alaska, and just the great challenges of those students to get out of the home and actually get into a learning environment. In many cases, there was one less person there to hunt and feed and help to supply for the family.
That's right.
So it was just incredible challenges, things that I must admit I never thought of living in Southern California all of my life.
Yeah, and even though that was an extreme case, it struck a chord with me in that we see a lot in our students these days, whether they're working a lot, whether they have heavy family responsibilities, whether they are the first-time students from their families, where they're not necessarily getting a lot of support. The family may simply not even understand that much about what college is all about and why it's that important other than to get the degree. And she had wonderful advice for us, and it was advice that can be applied all over.
That's right. Another gentleman that really stood out for me was in the workshop. We had come up with a series of course strategies, actual tips for professors and educators that they can follow. What is student caring? Well, this is what it is. You could do this, and you could do this, and you can do this. And one tip we shared was that do not go over the syllabus on day one. Rather, this is an opportunity to get to know your students. And this gentleman, it was absolutely wonderful. He said, well, if I could share, I pull out a questionnaire, I give it to my students, and then I pull out my iPhone and I have them talk about their answers to me live on this videotape. And the questions were absolutely excellent. What are your hopes and dreams? What are your fears? What do you need from this course? And then the best part is he takes this video and he watches it over and over and over again, and he gets to know the students' names, but much, much more. He knows a little bit about who they are. And then the best part is he integrates this into his lectures, into his classes. So if he's talking about something and his brain clicks in, oh, this student had this particular situation, he ties it right into the course material. And I was just really excited to hear about that and anxious to really give it a shot, too. Yeah,
that was great. We actually received a good amount of feedback during the paper session as well. And the paper session was interesting. One of the things that came up for most general agreement was from our professor colleagues there was a sense of really the need to encourage parents to allow their children to transition into adulthood, into college. We've talked about this in some podcasts. We're very concerned about the success of our children as they go into college, but if we're not willing to let them go a bit, if we're not willing to let them swim alone in the pool, was the analogy we used, then things don't go especially well in that regard. We also heard from a number of our audience members of the need for administrators and faculty to work together in the interest of our students, to combine our resources in a time where resources are becoming thinner and thinner.
These were moments. Daniel was reading in the front of the room. I was sitting in the back of the room. And when these two topics came up, you could see all the heads were just...
They were nodding.
Yes. So we definitely struck a chord. We discovered some things that are of general concerns to just a whole lot of our colleagues.
Yeah. And I think we learned a lot at the conference about where the needs are. And this is something that is going to affect the podcast that we do during the year coming up. I think that people are hungry for content. They're hungry for folks to come in and give them good tips in terms of what to do in the classroom. One of the things that we did in our first series of podcasts in the fall was to take professors through the semester and help them to identify the sorts of problems that come up on a day-to-day basis. And that is something that really struck a chord of interest, and it's something that we're going to continue to do, perhaps in a little bit more of a formalized way as we go on.
Yes. Well, this is a Sunday, and tomorrow morning we're both back in the classroom. In fact, here in just a very short period of time, we'll be headed off to the airport and back to our homes and our colleges.
And we will be fresh as daisies, by the way. I just want to let you know we'll be coming in late tonight, and this is not a student caring strategy that we want to share, as this is more of a, you probably don't want to do this. David has a nice full schedule tomorrow morning, and I'm teaching as well and putting the finishing touches on a couple of things as our term begins.
Well, certainly I'm not going to complain about the 2-hour jet lag.
No. We've had a wonderful week here, and we realize that it's a little bit obnoxious to be podcasting from Hawaii. But, in a sense, we're obnoxious folks, and this has been a theme for us all the way through. So we wanted to share with you, who couldn't experience it firsthand anyway, our sense of this is what the beach is like in Hawaii. And these leis, of course, we wear all the time, even at home in Southern California. We sometimes get funny looks for them. But
no, we don't.
We don't. Okay.
We don't.
Okay, it's the coffee kicking in.
But we want to hear from all of you, even though you're not here with us in this beautiful island this week, and we've been able to actually meet people and talk to them in person. We have a variety of ways that you can get into contact with us. Certainly, our website is a way to write to us, to comment on the blog that we have there. And we're on the internet social networks also. You can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, and you can leave us some voice feedback, as some people have done. If you listen to some of our previous podcasts, you can hear that. And that's really easy, too. You just call this phone number. It's 855-639-9292.
Also, we want to remind you of our website. We're going to be dressing up the website a little bit as the semester goes on, and we're going to be adding some of our materials that we shared at the conference and that we're developing now to help you in the classroom, and that's www.studentcaring.com, so studentcaring.com.
Yes. Well, we're about to sign off to pack our bags. And,
alas.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Please, continue to join us, tune in as we take you through our spring semester and continue to talk about student caring.
And we'd like a little feedback on this, too. If the video indeed was too scary, we're willing to go back to the general podcast. So we'd like to hear from you, and hearing from you is a great way of sharing resources as teachers.
We'll part here for a second so you can see the beach behind us. And there you are.
This is a real beach. This is not something that we've just photoshopped in. This is what it actually looks like. A wonderful conference, by the way, if you have a chance to if you're looking for something to do, I suppose, in between New Year's and the beginning of the term. This is a very valuable conference.
Yeah,
we would encourage it.
We're thinking about coming back next year. We've had such a good time here.
We have. Well, thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you back in Southern California. Aloha.
Aloha.